Traditionally, time management has always dealt with efficiency, schedules, time-saving schemes, doing more things faster. The clock is the symbol of it. It drives us toward efficiency. Have you ever tried to be efficient with a loved one on a tough issue? Say with a family member or a friend? How did it go? I mean, you can see right off the bat how foolish it would be. Unless people are emotionally aligned, efficiency with people is ineffective. With people, fast is slow, and slow is fast. In short, effectiveness is not efficiency. Just imagine a group of workers cutting their way through a forest. The supervisors are behind them, watching the clock, sharpening the tools, writing procedures, setting up efficiency programs. Then an effective leader emerges. He surveys the entire situation and with a compass in hand, shouts out, "We're in the wrong forest!" Individuals and organizations get so busy cutting through the undergrowth that they don't realize they're often heading into the wrong forest. We get so addicted to the urgent everyday things, the clock, that we neglect our highest priorities and even our direction, the compass. The clock serves an important purpose and adds great value, but only after the compass has defined the right direction. You see, it doesn't really matter how fast you're going if you're heading in the wrong direction. Habit 3, put first things first, is based on the paradigm of effectiveness first, then efficiency. Relationships first, then schedules. Important things first, then the urgent things. The compass first, then the clock. The key words to understand are urgency and importance. Urgency means it requires immediate attention. It is now. Urgent things act on us. Urgent things come from outside you. They stand in front of you. They press upon you because they are time sensitive, like a ringing phone. They might be important as well as urgent, but too often they are merely urgent. Importance, on the other hand, has to do with what really makes a difference. The important priorities come from within. These priorities come from your values, your personal mission, your organization's mission, and your high priority goals. I call this the time matrix. We spend our time in one of 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 consists of activities that are both urgent and important. For example, an important client calls you with a pressing need. Your child gets sick. A crucial system breaks down. A key meeting is suddenly called. Quadrant 1 is full of crises, pressing problems, deadlines that drop on you from nowhere. If you don't go to that important meeting, there will be tough consequences. So it's a Quadrant 1 activity. We call Quadrant 1 the quadrant of necessity. We must spend time here. But if you only focus on Quadrant 1, it keeps getting bigger and bigger until it consumes you. Quadrant 3 activities are urgent, but not important. It includes such things as unnecessary meetings and reports, many emails and phone calls, and other people's minor issues. We call Quadrant 3 the quadrant of deception, because urgent things have the appearance of importance, but most of the time they are not. It might be like the meeting that has no agenda, no purpose. It might be an unnecessary interruption in your day. It might be a knee-jerk response to that email that just showed up on screen but doesn't really matter much. Beware of Quadrant 3. It is the culprit that bankrupts individuals and organizations. Quadrant 4 is neither urgent nor important. It is the quadrant of waste and excess. It's all those things that we do to escape, like watching mindless TV, playing endless games, wasting hours on the internet. People who escape to quadrant 4 are usually burned out by living in quadrants 1 and 3 all of the time. They are addicted to urgency, and it takes a toll. Quadrant 2 activities are not urgent, but they are important. Here we become proactive. We plan and prepare for the future. We think to prevent problems. We build relationships. We empower ourselves through learning and skill development. We sharpen the saw. All the things that we know that we should do, but don't because they aren't urgent. We call quadrant 2 the quadrant of effectiveness. This is where effective people focus their energies. You see, quadrant 2 won't act on you. You must act on it. We never seem to get time for quadrant 2. Ironically, however, the more time you spend in quadrant 2 doing preparation, planning, and prevention, the less time you will be forced to spend in quadrant 1, managing the latest crises. If you examine most people's agendas against the 4 quadrants, you'll find almost all of their time is spent in quadrants 1 and 3. What happens then to quadrant 2? It gets pushed aside. Now what happens to quadrant 1? It gets larger. How long can you sustain a quadrant 1 lifestyle? What are the results? Doesn't it soon stress you out? Doesn't it eventually burn you out? Endlessly fighting fires, moving from one crisis to the next. Gradually it takes its toll on your body and on your mind. It is not sustainable. So where do you get time for quadrant 2? When you're inundated by urgent, pressing matters. You stop spending so much time in quadrants 3 and 4. You literally say no to those activities. You live above the line that separates quadrants 1 and 2 from quadrants 3 and 4. It's really not that difficult to cut those wasteful and excessive activities in quadrant 4. The real challenge is not to let quadrant 3 rob your time. Quadrant 3 is usually built around other people's priorities and expectations of you, like attending that meeting you know is not a good use of your time, but you're expected to be there. Too much time in quadrant 3 results in feeling like a victim, focusing only on the short term, and having a reputation like a chameleon. You'll only be able to say no to the popularity of quadrant 3 if you have a bigger yes burning inside. The bigger yes comes when you clearly define your quadrant 2 goals and priorities, your mission. When people start to think in quadrant 2 ways, they will gradually improve their relationships and increase their output. There will be fewer crises, more balance and greater vision. Moving from crisis to crisis, never getting to quadrant 2, is like swatting flies all day long. When will you stop swatting the flies and start fixing the hole in the screen door?